All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm off video to support some connectivity issues, but I'm still here, and I am so excited to be talking with Saleema Brooks today, working with Frontline Farming remotely up in the physical location is up in Denver, but Saleema's back here in Albuquerque. And as you all know, I don't do a background. We just or a formal introduction rather. We just jump right in to talking to the person. So, Salima, what is your background?
Yeah, so my background is in ecology and biology, and I like have focused in on agriculture over the years. So I started with a bachelor's degree in biology from Knox College in Illinois, and really focused on like forest ecology in that space and plant identification, botany, all those things. And then for my master's, kind of honed into conservation ecology with a focus on agriculture. So all that running around in the woods had me wondering about the human land interface and like what was a discipline where that was discussed, as like part of the practice and the theory. And I found that in agroecology. So kind of like dived into that and went to grad school for all of that, and then just realized I wanted to farm. And so I would say the last, several years has been me working and doing like research around agroecology, sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture, and also supporting farming organizations in that way while also farming on the side. So it's kind of how I'm doing it. There's been many different paths that I've had, but that's like how I'd sum up my background. I have a love of soil science and ecology, and being able to see it in practice on the land is like a big passion of mine.
Yeah, interesting. So it sounds like you came to farming sort of from you had like a theoretical framework with your academic studies, and then you really got to apply it on the ground and in community.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like always my thing, was like wanting to see theory in practice and not wanting it to kind of stay locked up in like, academia and those conversations you have about like how it works. Just wanting to see how it works in the field. What is it like for a farmer to take this practice and actually implement it? Is it feasible? Is it possible? And maybe it's not, and maybe it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you've sort of started hinting at this, which is that everyone in agriculture seems to wear many hats. So, what are some of the things that you do professionally related to agriculture and the food system?
Yeah, so currently I work for Frontline Farming, and so it's a farming based organization in Denver, Colorado, and it's a really amazing organization. It's BIPOC led. It focuses on food sovereignty, beginning farmer training, and just like all around like food access. So it's like very holistic in its approach. So for my role there, what I do is I'm a communications and engagement manager, and so it's a transition from when I was in Denver, when I was working there in person before I moved back to Albuquerque. I was a farm manager for one of the farms there for 2 years. And so now I'm putting on a different hat to support the organization remotely by working on managing all the Instagram, the Facebook, doing the newsletter, the monthly newsletter, and also supporting an education program that I'll be going back to Denver for in August to support. It's an immersion program. So it's all about training farmers and food advocates in agriculture, but like from a holistic, like both the social and ecological perspective, like food sovereignty, food justice kind of thing. So, and then I help support the research team there at Frontline Farming. And so I have a lot of different things that I do. So that's like my part-time work. And then the other work I do is I live and work on a farm here in the South Valley. It's called Telesplore Farm. This is like our first year farming like this property and doing this together. And it's a really cool thing of balance, balancing this work with Frontline Farming and that, which is computer work, and then also balancing my work on the land with the farm and trying to get this new business and new adventure like going, which is really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I mean something that I really emphasize with students is this growth mindset that just because you haven't done it yet doesn't mean you can't learn. And it sounds like
Hmm.
you're sort of emblematic of that. You're like, well, I was managing a farm for 2 years and now I'm transitioning into this new role. And then at the same time, I'm also like starting to learn this new land
Hmm.
using what I've learned in the past, but applying it in
Yeah,
new ways.
exactly. And I feel like it's about like being able to, yeah, just take your given, and like everything, you never know how you're going to get to your end goal. Like for me, like
Mm,
if anyone asks what I'm doing, I'll first say that I'm a farmer.
mm.
And then I'll say what I do to support me in that endeavor, which will look different based on which year we're talking about. So it's like I have no background in social media or communications, but in my work with Frontline, that was a strength that they saw I had in addition to being a farm manager. And so I feel really blessed that they saw that, were willing to support me like remotely to keep working with them and valued my contributions in that way. And I'm learning all kinds of stuff, flyer design, just like, yeah, how to make an engaging media post. And I mean, when you think about it, and when you're farming, like most farmers are doing it all. They're farming, they're posting on social media, they're sending out emails, they're organizing their CSAs. So I just see it as like one way that, yeah, it always kind of winds up that way is you have to, you gain a lot of skills in many different ways. And like it helps you be better in your like long-term goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I heard, I mean, I think really specifically and very unfortunately in our current system that doesn't tend to price food in a way that farmers can be full-time as farmers and ranchers, like many, many, many people have off-farm income. So for people who are interested in growing food, right, there's always like figure out what else you can do. That's one thing, but I think it actually can broaden out to a lot of different things, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
figure out a career that still gives you time to do what you want to do. And that like
Exactly.
can work in a lot of different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah, yeah, and I
finding
think
that balance.
yeah, I like how you summed it up. It's like because it can look really like maybe you're not trying to farm on the side, but maybe you have something else you're trying to grow, and like just give yourself the time to grow it, and you don't have to take the risk, like and like jump in, go into debt, and do all these things for something that you're just starting out on. Like there's time, and there's even it's time, or maybe that's you'll find that it's like the perfect balance. Like maybe you don't ever need to transition into that thing that brings you joy that you love, like as a full-time career. Like maybe it is that thing you do for 20 to 30 hours a week in addition to other things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good point. I think that, there's a lot of pressure for people to find the career that's like, oh, this is my 40-hour week, 9 to 5. But
Mm-hmm.
really, we can think much more broadly about like, how do we make a living and what does that living look like? So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this transitions us into the next question, which is what motivates you in your work and how does your work align with your interests and values?
Mm, that's a good one. I think what motivates me, because especially when you're farming, I sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of work. And the reason I do it is because I love it. And what motivates me is there's like something very like personal about it. Like of course it's like community, but like the pure joy that I get when I get to be outside on the land and like do something and see it make a difference. Like, over a couple of weeks, put a seed in the ground and then to see it grow and sprout and to see the beauty of like water and sun and like all these things that can make something that's so tiny become what you eat in like, a month or 2 months or like 5 months, however long it takes to get to maturity. And that relationship of like I feel like the land tests you, it tests your patience, it tests like how curious you are. Like, are you really curious to understand what's going on, or do you think it's an equation, right? So for me, like I always have to like it grounds me. I'm like, okay, am I doing this because sun plus water plus soil equals fruit, or am I doing
Yeah.
this because I'm wondering how much soil, how much light, what time of the year, what variety of crop, like who's it going to go to, like that. It's like there's a whole beautiful process that is part of deciding to farm. And I think that like both the science and the fact that I'm not just doing it to grow food, that the food I want to go to people who need it. And I want
Mhm.
it to be affordable and fresh and local and like high quality, and you know and to have it be appreciated by the people who receive it. And so it's a mix of like selfishness for me because I love it. I love farming. I could do it every single day, almost regardless of where the food goes, because I love the process, right? I love
Mhm.
it. Doesn't even matter like how many tomatoes I get. Like I want to have a lot of tomatoes, but like I want to have that seasonality. I want to know
Mhm.
that like come spring, yeah, I'm gonna be outside at like 6 a.m. and it feels great. And I'm gonna be harvesting in the nighttime because I mean that's when I have free time, but also because there's something cool about seeing the sunset, while you're
Mhm.
harvesting asparagus. It's like you're really in tune with like as the days get longer and earlier, so does my own way of existing. Like I don't mind getting up because I don't mind staying out late because the sun is up still. And so it's that, and I think also like it's a deep thing, like familial thing too, of like being in agriculture, being in ecology. Like there's a lot of stories that are missed and lost, like the cultural aspect that I find come alive when I farm, and it comes alive when I
Mhm.
decide to grow like collards, when I decide to grow sweet potatoes and okra and mustard greens and like the things that I grew up eating. That's like stories that's in my family and other like African American families, like Black identity. It's like that is something I don't even need to really talk to anyone about because it's so deep that like just doing it is enough. Like
Mhm.
growing these foodways of like my family and my people is like enough to make me feel like this is absolutely what I need to do. There's no question about it. No needing to be like, do I belong in this field? It's like, nah, I do. People may see me and be like, whoa, how'd she get in this field? But it's like, I don't need to even answer it or justify it because it's in my heritage and it's deep ancestral knowledge. So I would say that's what motivates me. I'm doing it in community with the people I love. So I'm doing this farm, running it with my friend Anna, who is also located. She lives on the property too, and we're building it as a community farm that is accessible to people to learn how to grow, to farm for themselves, and just like be close to the land. And I think that's really, really special. So I would say those are my motivations summarized.
Yeah, it sounds like that there's like this deeply personal part of just like it's you, it's first thing in the morning and the water and the seeds and everything. And that it sounds like through all of that, you are it's not just you, it's like your whole ancestry and then out into all of the people who are also doing this work or eating the food. It's like in that
Mhm.
moment, it contains all of those things.
Yeah, and it's like it's amazing. Like we don't think about like when we bite into a tomato or into an apple, like what stories are and sometimes the stories aren't great, right? Like there's a lot of like extraction and you know a lot of bad things that happens to the land and to people with the food that we're eating. And so there's those stories and there's also beautiful stories, and we never know what's coming with what we eat unless we get to know farmers and get to know our food system and get to know like that significance. Like it is like very like with all farmers, I know it's about heritage and tradition and carrying on something, and being that it skipped a couple generations before it came to me, like I feel like
Mhm.
it's like my job to carry it on and to carry on the beauty of it. And even though it's hard work, but to always make sure like highlighting the positives too, like what makes it amazing. Not just the grueling work. It's it's a mixed bag. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get your positions? Because there's, you're sort of talking about
Mm.
two. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I know I have like so I think, I guess I could just kind of check. I think it's important to check. I've had many like different types of jobs. So I'll just like run through like the types and the times and how, because I think that's insightful, like, as a student who's interested in like building a career, like, so I hope that's helpful. Um, and so when I was coming out of, like, I went straight to grad school, and when I was coming out of grad school, I was, realizing that I wanted to farm. I almost quit. I almost didn't make it through grad school, and I almost was like, I don't know, I just want to be a farmer. Like, I don't need to get a degree. I don't need to do any of that. And then I was, kindly discuss, my research advisor and my others were like, it's good just to just finish your degree. It's going to come in handy. And it has. It's come in handy in many, many ways. Um, and so I was looking for a part time, not full time position where I could also farm. And so it was like a super blessing. First job coming out of grad school was with the Savannah Institute doing agroforestry research and support, like in an education program kind of way. And then, so that's based in Wisconsin. And then, I mean, it was crazy. I think I actually applied to the farm apprenticeship first with Troy Farm. So I applied to a farm apprenticeship, praying that I would get a position that would also support me a little bit more financially, and was applying and found the position with this agroforestry organization. Hours complemented each other very well, both based in, Madison, Wisconsin. And that's kind of been like the vibe for a while now. So doing something where I'm using kind of my education and background to like push forward and help support programming in that way. But also that was my first apprenticeship, agricultural apprenticeship farming. And actually a friend of mine was the one, she had been working for the farm for a while, and she was like, you should do this. Because I was like, I just want to be a farmer. And she'd been farming for years, was like, come work on my farm. Like, oh, yeah, yeah. And so that was like my first time, like, farming, like, pretty full time on a vegetable farm. I mean, it wasn't full time, it was like an apprenticeship, so a little less, but it gave me a taste of what it's like. And I remember after my first season, I was actually like, I don't know if I could do this. My body hurts, my back. I'm getting back spasms. And was like, you know what, perennial agriculture, like this whole annual, like planting things every year after year doesn't make no sense. But for some reason, I don't know, I'm still doing it. I love my annual vegetables as much as I love perennials. And so from there, I kind of, was able to use, that was a remote position. So I have worked a number of remote positions that have allowed me to have flexibility and move, where I need to be. And so even working with an organization, Savannah Institute, based in Wisconsin, I was able to work remotely for them while I made my way to New Mexico on accident, but on purpose. and and I think like that, like my background in like forest ecology and botany combined with like the social and ecological understanding of agriculture really helped me when, getting other positions and being able to market those skills, because usually in agroecological research, more so maybe not agroecological, but in ecological research, the social side, it's coming out more as like an important part of the research, but it's like, a few years back that was kind of new in terms of centering that like understanding together, like not just understanding the ecology, but understanding impacts on people and how people impact ecology, and how there's a whole understanding of, race and class and even like access to land that's not part of these big questions that either funders are interested in answering or institutions are interested in answering. So I found that was a really important niche and has continued to be an important niche. Like, and I did it not because I thought it was marketable, but because I was like, I don't know how to study ecology or any of this without having that also paired with it. It doesn't make sense to
Hmm.
me, because I'm like, this is really interesting, but like the land has a history and it's not absent of humans. My people have a history that's very land based. And why is it that in this field it's like majority white and male? And I can't be in this field without having that assurance that I know the history and my own history in relationship to this work. and that other people do. Like this isn't something that should be, these conversations have to be present. And so it's put me in like really interesting positions of, you know, wanting to simply just do the ecology, but also, the social side was for me and my own understanding of my place, but also finding that then I had to be an advocate also in it to
Mm.
communicate and share and to make sure that more people like me could be in the positions that I have. And so it's been a really beautiful journey. And I'll just kind of fast forward because I feel like there's a lot that I could talk about. um, and so, but like, being in New Mexico and starting my career there, I did a lot of like odd jobs, kind of getting settled here until, I'll mention that I worked for the Cubeta Coalition, which is how I met Eva and like worked with Eva as my supervisor, um, and like soil health planning for ranchers in New Mexico, which was like a really amazing experience as well, and also always having those conversations about the social side of things. Um, and so then, yeah, I mean, fast forward now, I 2 years ago I was farming full time for the first time in Denver, so I moved to Denver, and got to spend time there. My husband was going to school in Denver, so we kind of uprooted our lives to go there. And I think honestly, like that, working for Frontline as a full time farm manager rather than having to balance was like really beautiful. And I think that's like a reminder for anyone who wants to farm who's like, I don't think I can do my own thing. Like I can start it right now, but if you're interested in working for a farming organization, like the positions are getting better and better, especially like urban agriculture, even not urban agriculture, like the pay salary is increasing for manager positions. So like would recommend you don't always have to start your own thing.
Mm. That's
It's like
such a
you
good
can,
point.
yeah, and I think it's like that is something that I've seen grow immensely. Where we're not going to be rich as managers ever, farm managers, but they're paying 50 to 60,000 for a manager position, and with the benefit of like you get free food, oftentimes because you're farming, and you get to just do what you do, and when you go home, you're done. Right? When you go home, you're not going to work the other part-time job and try to create a balance in that way. And so I think it's just like it's all been all about creativity. I've had a lot of other part-time jobs, but I think as long as you know why and where you're going, it makes it easy to be okay with the what.
Mm.
It's like
Hmm.
you're like if your main vision, your goal is clear. Like for me, it's like I know I want to farm and I want to contribute and like help move regenerative ag forward. I want to help get people like me in agriculture. Like there's so many ways you can do that. It can look like so many ways, and being open to that, I feel like allows you to see and take advantage of the opportunities that do arise in front of you, and to not get disappointed if it's not exactly it, because I think you could always want something more. Um, and I think it's okay to want something more, but to be grounded in like the how can be as creative as you want it to be. As creative as you want it to be, which is beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I feel like students often feel pressured that like the first job they get needs to be the thing they want to do or the thing they've been seeking. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so helpful to hear you're like, well, I did this for a while, and then I learned, and then I did this, and then, I supported my husband who was going to school, so now I
Mm-hmm.
had to do this. And so I think that's just useful for people to hear.
Yeah,
You
as
don't have
someone
to
who's
get
been
it the
like
first
all over the
time.
country. Yeah, no. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been like all over the place, lived in many places doing odd jobs, like even lived in Socorro and was teaching, middle school. Like education has always been big. Like I was like, maybe I want to be a teacher. I was like, being a teacher is great because then I'll have my summers off. And then in the summers I can farm, right? But that was the COVID happened, and I was like teaching during COVID is insane, and other
Ugh.
factors caused me to search for something else. But yeah, it literally it's like, don't be afraid to shift around and figure
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah, and that, keeping your eye on a bigger long-term goal and trajectory can help with, yeah, sorting out those smaller details. Nice.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice. We're about to shift to sort of from the sort of big heady parts of a career to more logistics. Is there anything you wanted to add about sort of like the big the big broad
Mm.
brushstrokes of your career and your decisions, your
Yeah. I
actions?
mean, I would say when I started, I had no idea where I was going. I think that's like also to be clear, it might seem like I've always known, but like, I mean, I knew I liked ecology and I liked botany and I liked being outside. And then in pursuing that, it opened more doors. I was like, when I could get a little more specific, and that it's just I feel like life developing specificity, and it could take
Mm,
years. It's just like, just start with wherever your heart is. And that can be hard when like you're like, I need to like make money and like pay my bills and do all these things. And I hear that farming is not the most lucrative job. And I was like, okay, but creativity, right? How can there are like, careers in agriculture that do pay well that can support that. But just like being open to where it is. And I was really blessed to have like a supportive like family. Like my mom is always supporting me in like all the crazy things I've done. So I'm really grateful for that. So having the support too of like, you are doing something that's not traditional, especially in your family, just like find the support groups of people who understand. If that's like other people in agriculture who are like, I don't know, I can't help it, I just need to do this, like it's my
mm,
passion. If you're interested in farming, other farmers, like just create a little safe nest for yourself to grow. And like, even if it feels like it's hard, it's like just keep pushing forward. And yeah, I think that's the beauty of it.
oh, that's yes. Yeah. If someone doesn't support you, find someone who does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So how much time are you at the computer? How much time are you on the road, either traveling or whatever? Like not spending time, not getting to sleep in your own bed, I think is how I consider on the road. And then how much time do you get to spend outdoors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I spend, I would say, about 5 to 6 hours a day on the computer. And then I would say I spend about, I know it's like how many hours are in the day? About 4 to 5 hours farming
Nice.
um, during the week. So, and then on the weekends, I do try to like take a day away from the farm. So on Sundays, I won't be on the farm, but I tend to work like, I was looking at it, I was like maybe 11 hours, of like me doing something. So it's like 5 to 6 of paid work. And then as we're building this farm, like the rest of my time is spent in the mornings and in the evenings, like planting, seeding, and everything like that. So I spend a lot of time outside, but a lot of time inside too. It's like it's a balance.
Hmm. And it sounded like you were gonna had some travel up to Denver, for example, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
not sort of routine part of, or maybe
yeah.
is that routine that you're traveling for education events or something like that?
Yeah, so it's like 3 times a year is kind of
Okay.
like the thing for like special events. So I went up for the staff retreat for frontline farming, and then also the next thing coming up is like this education program that I'll be helping to run in August. So that's going to be 2 weeks away. So
Oh
that'll be
wow.
like interesting to kind of like leave the farm and be like, okay, this is fine. But we all work it together, so it won't be, it'll be fine. And then the other event would be like we have an annual farm to table event. So when they designed my position, they created like times for me to be able to go up and still be with staff and be connected in that way, because most of the staff are in person, and
Mhm.
there's only like a couple people that do like remote work or contract work in that way. So I'm grateful for the times I do get to go up and visit, because I really love that community and love who I work with, and it's good to feel connected in person. And then yeah, beyond that, like occasional deliveries of asparagus right now is It's like what I'm doing, but yeah, I don't really travel too much. Most of my time is on the land and on like our house is shared with the farm property, so um,
Nice.
most of my time here.
Yeah, very, very grounded. Very grounded.
Hmm.
Nice. Um, so you did mention taking time off farm, which I think is great for I want to support all farmers and ranchers to be able to get off farm sometimes. But
Hmm.
maybe sort of a little bit broader, what kind of vacations do you get to take and what flexibility is in there? Or
Mm.
not everyone actually cares about vacations. I do, but what else is important to you about work-life balance?
Mm-hmm. I'll start with like the vacation time. So through my position at Frontline, I do get 2 weeks off
Nice.
of paid time that I could take any time of the year. So it's not tied to like a particular holiday. Just have to request. I could take it all at once or I could spread it out. So I think that's really great. The other thing that like I feel like in terms of work life balance is I'm still working on it. But I think for me it's like that one day a week, where it's like Sunday and it's like, nah, this is the day that like I go to archery with my husband and we meal prep and I like I clean up around the house and just like do what I need to do to get ready. And that's when we do like family things or friend things. So one day a week does make a big difference. And, sometimes I'll get pulled out of the farm, but most of the time I'm pretty good. I just like don't even look at it. I'm like, I'm not even gonna look over there. They'll be fine. Everything will be fine. Um, and then the other thing is I really love that farming is seasonal. Like the winter time truly is a time to slow down and to rest. And so
Mm,
when everything's like this pick up in the spring and there's like this planting frenzy and you want to like get everything done, is like I just know it's not forever. Literally, it's like 3 months of like go time, and then your plants are pretty established, and you're going to be weeding and then harvesting. And then inevitably you're gonna cry when frost comes. Or maybe you might cry when frost comes, and you might be like, "Thank goodness, I've had both feelings." I'm like, woo, that was a season. And then the winters, you get to come down and the pace changes. And it's like, I really appreciate that about farming in particular. And even like the organization I work for, Frontline Farming, like they structure everything around that. So programming goes, increases around this time and is like really
mm,
steady through the summer. And then winter time, there's not a lot going on with the organization. The farmers are chilling out. There's not a lot of events, and so everyone gets to experience that arc of flow, like regardless of if they're like staff inside, kind of doing more of the administrative stuff, versus the farmers who are like, some of the farmers like get like, you know, 6 weeks off in the winter
mm,
time, like
hmm.
paid time, and I think that's
Nice.
so important. So yeah, a balance is like I see it as like sometimes balance is you have to look at the year long
Yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
versus a day versus a week. But that's how I do it, and that helps me like work through it when I'm like, okay, this is a busy time, but in the arc, there's gonna be a slow time. And so as long as I stay patient with that, it helps me a lot.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, that's something that is so cool about being for anyone involved in agriculture, being aware of that and
Mm-hmm.
um, knowing how your actions fit in with those processes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what do you not like about your job?
That's a good question too. Okay, so what do I not like about my job? I would say I'm really not a social media guru. I've come to like love like the creative side to it. So that's like what keeps me going. But like as someone who like barely ever posts on her own social media and has like a lot of fear around putting something out into the world for people to see forever until you delete it, it's a lot. But I think what has helped me, like the counter to the dislike of like having to like figure out this whole platform that can be really positive and also really toxic and like can take up a lot of energy and time and space in like the modern day world, like doom scrolling and things. So to have it
Mm,
be my work, in addition to I also am dealing with my own social media relationship and my own personal network there. It's just it can feel like a lot. So I have the frontline farming Instagram and Facebook, and then I have my own Instagram and Facebook, and then the farm. I also do that one, Tell Us For Farm. So I'm like, I have three potential doom scrolling locations, and sometimes I don't even like remember which one I'm in because they're all kind of similar. There's a lot of farm stuff. So I think that's one thing I've noticed. There's a lot of benefits from it, but I would say that's what I don't like. And then I'm trying to think of like the Tell Us For Farm aspect. I mean, I just don't like that I don't have enough time in the day. I would love more
Mm,
time. I would just love to have more time, but I think farming is one of those things where you're always in a time deficit. You're always like feeling behind. So I think that's like the hard thing about farming is like you're always like, yeah, I would have loved to have done that 2, 3 weeks ago or a month ago. Here I am, still trying to do it. So maybe
yeah.
it's the time deficit. Like I feel like I always owe the land or even people something that I haven't finished yet. Yeah.
What do you do on your favorite days?
I think on my favorite days because I like variety, and I think that's why this kind of lifestyle works for me because I like that my day looks really different depending on what time of the day is. Like in the morning versus the afternoon, like it's a completely different thing. So my favorite days are when I get to do a little bit of everything. Like I'm able to, feel really productive at my frontline work and get that done, and also have a really good day on the farm, and then I could do something with my husband that's like eating dinner together, like going and seeing a movie. Yeah, we have chickens and bees, so I always like feel good when I get to check on the chickens, and prioritize them and be like, yo, what's up, collecting eggs. So I like the activity, like I like the when it's like full. I don't like the days where I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm really gonna have to, like, I can't go out to the farm and I gotta just like sit and do my work, or even the opposite where I overspent time in the farm and now I'm behind in work. I just like a
Mm,
sweet little easy, like a nice variety, keeping kind of tabs on things as much as I can, and making sure everyone's okay. Birds.
nice.
Yeah, I call the chickens the birds. The
The
birds, the
birds, the
bees.
bees.
Yeah.
Okay, and so if you were going to hire someone to help you in your work, what would you look for in an applicant? You can do
Mm-hmm.
that in, however you take
Yeah,
what your work
cool.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like, I feel like the qualities are going to be similar, and I might like specify like the differences between like farming versus like communications and engagement. But I feel like someone who's demonstrated that they're interested in something, regardless of whether it was paid or unpaid work. So,
Mm,
like volunteer work, like any demonstration that someone is committed to this field, or like is interested, wants to engage, wants to learn more, like volunteering and like any like training or education, even if it's not like from a university, like I feel like really goes a long way to just showing that you're interested.
hmm
And I think the other thing is this one, it's like for me not like a priority because people come from different backgrounds, so it's either that you've like demonstrated it like later in life, or even if you're raised in agriculture, or raised around like that kind of work ethic and understanding of what does it mean to like give that much to the land and to like make a promise. Like I feel like the relationship you have with land is the promise. It's like I understand this relationship and I'm gonna give what I can, and I know that you're gonna return it to me, and that's like
mm,
you know a blessing. Like inshallah is like God willing, like it is returned, and if it isn't, it wasn't meant to be. Don't bang your head against the wall
yeah.
if your tomatoes didn't turn out how you wanted, or your cucumbers got like powdery mildew before it. Just things, right? So I think there's like a lot of lessons that when people have a long relationship with land work that applies beyond just being on the land. Like it applies to like how someone approaches even like doing computer work, doing social media work. Is it's like that pacing and that work ethic, I think, is really important for being able to move forward. So seeing that demonstrated is really great. I think also someone's ability to like laugh and like joke and like even laugh at themselves about like they're just not taking things too seriously. As someone who can often take things too seriously, the only thing that keeps myself sane is like being able to laugh at how seriously I take things. And like being like, okay, it's really not that big of a deal. Or just like, joy. It's like, yes, and it's okay to just like lighten up a little bit and just do what you can um and play around. And I still, even in some ways, I still have to work on that in some aspects, but I think I'm pretty good at about it in others. And then what's another quality? Yeah, demonstration of interest, like commitment. Yeah, and I think just like the ability to work with other people that are like different from you.
Mm.
And so I would look in someone, if I wanted to hire someone who has experience working with diverse communities
Mm.
outside of their own. Like I think, inside of your community that is really important too, but like working with like like immigrants from Afghanistan or from Yemen, and doing that kind of work, or going out into your local community and helping like unsheltered people, like any sign that you've been outside of your comfort zone.
Mm.
I think that's it. Like any sign that you've maybe put yourself in a situation where you don't know what the best, like you don't know the culture, you don't know the etiquette, you don't know like the common language, because so even if it's traveling, doing international travel, and being in a country where the language isn't your first language, I feel like it demonstrates like your ability to be uncomfortable, because it can be uncomfortable, um, and then to allow the inevitable growth that happens from being uncomfortable. You learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about other people, and for me, that's really important because the people in my community are from diverse backgrounds. We're all different, and wanting to have someone who is able to work with the people in my community without sweating it and being open to like being like, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. I don't know, but I can make space for those conversations so that one day I will know.
Right.
And I think that's like a really humble and grounded approach to like the only way we do it is by doing it. And how have we demonstrated that we're okay with that uncomfortability
Right.
beyond
Or
just
like,
being,
oh, I made a mistake and I
yeah,
apologized.
yes,
Right.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
like being able to, yeah, just be like, ah, shoot, I messed up. Because I try to do that all the time. I'd be like, I am imperfect. I'm always like, ah, dang, I forgot, or oh, shoot, I didn't think about that. My apologies.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's like, just, yeah, being able to just be like, this is a growing edge for me.
Yeah.
You so yeah, I think those are the main things. Those are it. And just being a good person, looking out for looking out for your coworkers, the people, in like a genuine way, that you care about someone because they're a whole human, not because it's like a particular position you get, or it's like, nah, this is like a community thing. It may be employment, but you're still part of a community. And like, what does it mean to look out for a community? And I would say those are like the big things. And just passion, just be excited. As if you're excited and love it, and like will do it regardless of who hires you, because you just know this is what you're gonna do. I'm like, dang, yeah, join my team.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, if this is what you love to do, and like my work aligns with yours, then it's like, let's do it.
Anything that we missed talking about? Anything you'd want students to know?
Um, I would say just like to talk, because I definitely speak from the farming perspective a lot, but just in agriculture work, I think when you're doing agriculture work, regardless of whether you're a farmer or not, centering the farmer perspective will help a lot with making progress in
Mm.
in in whatever you're doing, whether it's research, policy work, like anything. Like if you can like center that from like, I move from a deep understanding of what a farmer's life is like, what their priorities are like, what stresses they have, what joys they have, and use that to understand what does it mean to move regenerative agriculture forward? Like, what does it mean to develop policies that support more small scale farmers. Like you can only do it if you like really deeply understand, and you'll have a lot more respect from the farming community if you approach it with that way. They'll see you, they'll know, they're like, ah, okay, yeah, this person may not have like grown up in agriculture, may not be farming actively, but they understand what I'm experiencing, so I trust them. I trust that they're
Mm,
going to be able to advocate for me and for my needs and all these things. And I think that's like a really big part of, if you're not like a farmer, like what does it mean to be in agriculture? It means to deeply understand what it means to be someone who's working the land and like what those priorities are for someone. And I think if you do that, it can only be like fruitful. And knowing all kinds of different farmers, there's all kinds of farmers in this world. There's urban farmers, there's rural farmers, there's ranchers out there. Like it's just like literally so many perspectives to learn. And that what we see in the United States as agriculture, like understanding international agriculture and the way those
mm.
works, what farming is like outside of this country, what people eat and grow is like even a better complement to doing this work. Like it doesn't just have to be based in the United States. There's a lot of beautiful work happening all over the world around farmers and farm worker rights and food sovereignty and just how we can be better, feed people better, be less wasteful. Yeah, those are the last words I would leave.
Nice. Yes. Yeah. Keep perspective and yeah, get to know people. Just go to the farmer's market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, if there's like a first step, you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I would do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the farmers market, sign up for a CSA, like
Yeah. Listserv. Yeah.
go volunteer on a farm. Like,
Yeah. Mm,
yeah, so many options.
yeah. It doesn't have to be the thing you do. It can just it just builds awareness. And then oh man, and then everything just tastes better.
Yeah, exactly. Tastes
Like
good.
you just if you know the person, it just tastes
Mm-hmm.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording.